Attorney, would you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 2015-06 of the City of Lake Worth, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Business Tax Receipts and Business Regulations, Article 1, Local Business Tax Receipts, Section 14-24, Business Tax Schedule, to increase the rates for business tax by 5%, effective October 1, 2015, for severability, conflicts, codification, and an effective date.
I have a question for you, City Manager.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do we stand in the listings? When I was reading the backup information, it says we're in the middle of the barrel, or one of the lower rates of it. I just hear from businesses within the community that you know, they're being challenged greater and greater all the time, and they were putting an increase on the BTR. I just wonder where we stand in regards to, I know some of our rates were extremely low, so I'm just...
Yes, ma'am. For the record, William Waters, Community Sustainability Director. I was looking over some changes that were being proposed by Lantana, as well as the existing ones for the City of West Palm Beach. Keep in mind that in order to change significantly the rates, you have to do an overall business tax receipt study, which the city's last one was done in 1996. Many of the uses that we have listed do not exist anymore. They're not in our code, and so we have to charge what's called the miscellaneous fee, which is about $97 a year. If you look at the various rates that are charged by West Palm Beach and Lantana, because there are neighboring entities, and they were the easiest ones to review, we are substantially less almost everywhere. As an example, an automotive dealership, we charge $350 for it. In West Palm Beach, you do a base rate plus a fee on the inventory up to a certain cap. Our inventory rates for retail are $351 a thousand. It's over $4 and something in West Palm per thousand. The only ones that I could find that we charge substantially more, as I mentioned in our last hearing, are clairvoyants, tattoo parlors, and automobile vehicle repair places.
And the clairvoyants should have seen it coming.
Just point of order, please.
And so we will probably we would like to come back to you next fiscal year with a proposal, after I get some ideas how much it's going to cost, to do an updated business tax receipt study so that our uses are commensurate in the table as they are with the land development regulations, and our fees are on a competitive par with other communities, because we are way below.
I have a question for you, City Attorney. We got a small business owner here in the City of Lake Worth, small business owner, several businesses here in the City of Lake Worth, small business owner, I don't know, are you licensed here in the city?
You got it.
You are too? So you have four. Can we vote on this if voting, not voting for it?
Yes, there's no doubt that there's no conflict. There's such a small percentage of all businesses in Lake Worth. So there's no conflict.
Just thought I'd ask. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious now, but I understand this ordinance to take effect October 1st, is that
Right.
correct?
Yes.
I just got my renewal.
We could get in a little break and pay it early.
Oh. So if I pay it by the 30th of September, I'm good.
Right.
So the numbers that, with the penalties after September 30th?
Penalties will kick in on the new rate, and then all new businesses that apply for a business license at or after October 1st will pay the new rate.
Okay, let's play the devil's advocate. Let's say I pay on October 1st and not September 30th.
Okay.
You gave me a chart that says, kind of like your taxes, if you pay your taxes early, I get that. So you gave me a dollar value for paying after September 30th. Are you telling me that if we pass this ordinance, that that's going to change?
It will change if you don't have it postmarked by the end of September.
What I'm saying to you, if for example, my penalty cost after September 30th is $100,
Right.
that's what it says on my form. And I come to you on October 1st, are you telling me you're going to tell me it's $105? I have sort of made an executive decision on the fact that we will either charge the new rate or the old rate with a penalty, whichever's less. I'm just trying to figure out how folks are going to navigate through this. Some folks are going to say, what the heck are you talking? I got a piece of paper here that says it's $100. You're telling me it's $105. And they're going to get into an arm wrestling competition with that.
Well, we would have had to pass this ordinance back in June in order for the new rates to be applicable for the renewal. And our goal is to have the renewals out by the middle of July.
And you did good on that.
And they were out, I think, the earliest it's ever been since I've been here. And so, and we also make this applicable to the fiscal year, not the actual calendar year. And so it really couldn't be applicable until October 1st. And so we will explain that difference. We have 5 people who are available on the phone that can explain what will happen if you don't pay it on time, and if you're due a penalty or not.
Follow it, okay.
I guess what I'm getting at is, I'm sure you sent out thousands.
Over 5,000 renewals.
Okay, so you sent out 5,000 renewals, and each of us have a penalty of $100 if we don't pay it on time.
Only if you don't pay before October 1st.
We're right,
Okay.
October 1st. So are you telling me that the 5,000 of us who did come on October 1st, you're gonna tell us we owe $105 and not the $100, is my question.
If they come in, yes, we would tell them that.
How do you get there from here? You know how many people are gonna be angry about that?
Well, they have a choice. You pay it after October 1st, you will pay the old fee plus the penalty.
But you've already told us what the penalty is. That's what my point.
And we can go with that, and it'll be more than what it would be for the new rate.
I think what I'm getting at is, wouldn't it be easier for us, and is there material difference financially if we just say, look, anybody that starts to do business after October 1st, this is applicable to? Because I would be upset. I would be upset if I walked in and expected to pay $100 because I paid a day late, and you're telling me it's $105, especially if I already written the check.
Okay, well, I think the new businesses that come in for an application on or after October 1st will pay the new rate.
Okay, fair enough.
Those businesses that have already gotten a renewal, it's considered late if paid after October 1st. And I can tell you that the penalty is more than the new fee. And so you can either pay the old fee plus the penalty, which will be more than the new fee. And I'm trying to get people to break and have them pay the new fee, to be nice.
I think what I'm saying to you is there's a dollar value expressed on a renewal notice.
Right.
There's an expectation that whoever gets a renewal notice is gonna have if they pay after September 30th. And if you go in there and hit it for another 5%, but it just
We
creates.
won't.
We won't.
We won't.
Let's
We
do
will
it.
let
Right
them
now.
have
That's
a
what I'm trying to
choice.
get at. Okay, thank you.
They will have a choice. And it'll probably be, they'll be paying the new rate,
Which
not
will be
the
less.
old rate plus the penalty.
Correct.
Also,
They're getting a break. Yeah.
So you'll just say, okay, you don't wanna pay the penalty, then you have to set up a new business, is that what you're saying?
Not simply visible, charging the new rate, and it's 5%
All
higher
right.
than it is now.
I just hope we don't have a lot of issues with that.
You just confused me on the whole thing. I
Well,
thought I
we
understood it
did
beforehand.
this 2 years ago, we didn't have a huge amount of issues,
Well,
and
why don't you just tell
so
me to be quiet then?
I don't have the power to do that. It isn't a-
Point of order, point of order. Quiet in the chamber.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion on the floor in a second. Any other commissioner comments? Do we have any cards? Commissioner Meyer?
Just a quick question. Is there any figure on how much money we make in people paying their business tax late? Because if we're giving them a break, then we're losing some money.
It's not a huge amount. Our problem right now is getting people to apply for it to begin with. We have a compliance rate of right around 50%. Out of the 5,000 that we sent last year, we had very few that were submitted or postmarked late. The ones that were late, we found out that either the business had changed its name, the mailing address had changed, and so, which is under Florida statute, the owner is required to let us know that, but oftentimes they don't. Or we found out that the business had changed the way it operates and required a different type of license. And so I think that I doubt we'll lose more than, a few $1,000s by giving people a little bit of a break by paying the new fee versus the old fee plus the penalty.
I just wanted to thank you and your department for stepping up. For the last 3 years, I've been saying, can we get the bills out earlier? Can we get the bills out earlier? Yours came, 3 days after Palm Beach County, so thank you. And then I also know that last year or the year before, it probably took you a year and a half, you assigned one code officer that went door to door identifying businesses so you could update these files and try to get some of these people back on the book. So I just want to thank you and your staff for that.
Oh, sure.
And if I can just
Go ahead,
also,
city manager.
the amount of time, effort, and energy to get, businesses were getting, 3 and 4 different pieces of mail for the different components, and to consolidate this down to one sheet. And granted, we've had some glitches, but overall, it's been a phenomenal effort to be more professional. Last year, we had the glitches with calling them all business tax receipts, which got us in trouble with some of the churches, but, we were charging them a business tax. We were on the business license.
That was gonna be my only question. Did we at least not put that on?
It's a business license, they don't pay the business tax receipt, but But, you know, for people that got caught in that issue, they missed the real effort that was underway, and that was really trying to make it easier, more consolidated. We were paying less money in postage and effort, mailing out all these different pieces. And to do this effort has been a phenomenal result, so I just want to compliment staff as well.
How much has we saved in the consolidation of those different individual, is there any number?
We probably saved over $1,500 just in printing and mailing costs.
So probably break even.
We've also
time to
stopped
lose.
doing more than one renewal reminder notice. When I got here, we were sending out 4th notices. We do your first notice, which is a regular one, and then one late notice, and after that, we send out code. The city was spending literally thousands and thousands of dollars and getting nowhere. So it's much better now.
Okay. All right, thank you. We have 2 cards in, Ed Grimm and Peter Tim.
Good evening, Edward Grimm, South K Street. I often am asked by neighbors and friends who have businesses for me to try to explain to them the use and occupancy fees associated with paying the tax. And I'm always confused by it because people who have a rental apartment or a business for decades, everybody knows what they're doing, and yet they're charged again and again to confirm that they're able to do this business. I assume it's use and occupancy. And I don't think that there really is a use and occupancy check, or that people are actually checking every single year to see if the businesses are indeed allowed to do this. And if someone could demystify this for me, I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good question. Peter Tim?
Peter Tim, yes, here we go now with a lot of these new fees that are going to be charged. In the budget workshops, in which you cannot do anything, you have increased a lot of the taxes, and yet you have not voted on them yet. I wonder when you are going to start voting on some of these things that you have increased, because I think the people have a right to know what you are going to be charging them for the other services that they get now. And just like this one here, some people, they don't want to spend it too much. I think you're going to find a lot of that with these increases in fees for people who are paying taxes. There are a lot of people who pay no property taxes at all, and of course they live off the dope. I pay a lot of property taxes. I'm paying for somebody else. Or you're broke because you're not charging me enough because you can't charge them anything. That is wrong. Please correct it. Ha! Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grimm's question was a good one. William, you want to take a stab at it?
I didn't quite follow the question, actually.
I
Sorry.
think people are confused about what really the use and occupancy component is.
Well, that was
And
Mr. Grimm's question, wasn't
That's why he just said Mr.
it?
Yeah,
Grimm.
Mr.
Tim.
Oh,
I was
Mr.
like,
Grimm.
not Mr.
Grimm and
Tim.
Tim and the
Oh,
No,
okay,
no,
sorry.
no.
I can't explain that one. The business tax receipt is a tax. It does not verify or document use, it is just a tax, like income tax, property tax, whatever else. The city went away from what was called certificate of use, which establishes the type of use, the type of occupancy, and in most other communities, whether something is a non-conforming use or not. We put in the LDRs in August 2013 and then in 2013, a whole section about non-conforming uses of property, and then commensurately, we put in place, along with that, our use and occupancy, which is the establishment that yes, you are entitled to do this use, you are entitled to have this type of occupancy. It is married up to your land file, which is now being cleaned up, and we're almost 80% finished with these 11,000 parcels in the city, and then 16,000 parcels in our service area. So as people buy and sell property, they can call the city and know whether there actually is a legal non-conforming use on record for that property because of the establishment of the use and occupancy. And it has worked to our favor and the property owner to a great degree. The commensurate inspection, which now happens every 3 years, we hope over time as we get a higher compliance rate will lead to lower insurance costs for property owners because there will be a documented substantial review of the property on a regular basis. We don't have the 40-year threshold inspection, which Miami-Dade County has and Broward County has. This is a much less expensive way to go about determining the condition of properties without having to go through the threshold inspection, which then leads to often properties having to be improved significantly to meet new code requirements. And it's not that you're applying the current code to an old building, it's just identifying issues, whether they're life safety issues. I think it's a 40-year threshold, and the other two counties that are mostly urban require substantial improvements to buildings in order to meet that inspection after it's a 40-year-old building. And we have probably over half the city falls in that category, being 40 years old or older.
I'm with Mr. Grimm. So when he tells a neighbor he needs an easy description of how to describe the use of, we have the Reader's Digest version of
It
that?
documents in a very succinct way that you have the appropriate zoning, land use, and occupancy for the use that you're doing,
And then there's the inspection.
which happens every 3 years.
Every 3 years.
What were we doing on the inspection side previously?
We have not, we were doing it every year for commercial and every other year for residential. Prior to 2012, we weren't doing them since 2008.
There you go.
We had certificate of use until 2008. The fees were substantially more than they are now. And I have the records of how much we were taking in compared to today. And we did decide that the level of service being provided to either commercial entity or residential should have a commensurate fee. So it's $50 a year for commercial per property, and it's $35 per property for residential, which is very in line with what West Palm Beach charges. Actually, we're a little less.
Does this have anything to do with, and I could be completely off because I'm still confused with certain parts of it. Does it have anything to do with, I've heard complaints throughout the last 2 years or 3 years of different things. If somebody owns the building and has their own business in the building, it used to be they paid one fee, but now they pay 2 fees. They pay a tax receipt for their building because they're the owner of the building, but then they have another fee for the business that they operate in the building that they already own. But before it used to be just one and now it's 2, is that correct?
Well, it's never been one. The city, in its infinite management wisdom in the past, chose not to enforce the business tax receipt on commercial property owners who lease their property out. And we closed that gap when I got here because I realized we're losing this gigantic revenue stream, and we really have no record of which business property owners actually have tenants in them. The discrepancy came up that many property owners have their property in one entity's name and the business is operating in another one. And that came up with about, 25 different property owners. So we asked them, provide verification that all these different named entities are the same person or the same owner or entity, and then we'll list them all under the same use and occupancy, and you won't have to pay multiple fees. But if they're actually separate entities, like you pay separate taxes, you have a separate business license for each one.
Okay, because I remember getting flooded with phone calls at that time when people were saying, well, I've been in the building, and the difference was that some people are operating their own business in their own building, and some people are leasing the business, so the tax bills are going to the owner of the building, because the owner of the building's business is to lease the space, where the business that's leasing the space is operating a business as well, so they too were paying. Does that answer your question, or was that? Do you want to go ahead, because it was a good question, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it too.
Just, I can simplify the question, I think.
Yeah.
I understand completely why we have inspections. Nice, okay. But once the use and occupancy is established the first time, why is it necessary to charge a fee to reestablish that every year?
Okay.
One part of it is that under a non-conforming section, if there is a use that ceases to be documented for 6 months, it ceases to exist as a non-conformity, or there's a combined 18 months of lapse over 3 years. It was our way to create an assurance to property owners and future buyers of property that you have a vested non-conformity that can go with the property. We had a 3-year grace period that I've extended at least once to try to get everybody in, because once that's not been documented, we have lots of activities that are going to be coming down the pike in the next couple of years that you cannot legally do under the zoning code, and you have no documentation that's ever established as a use, so you can't grandfather back in the nonconformity.
Vice Mayor?
How's your success rate of identifying folks that have been skirting the system altogether?
Pardon me?
How is your success rate? Do you need more help with that?
Well, you're going to be getting requests for one additional officer whose primary focus is going to be closing the gap and getting higher compliance. We're also finding that many people who've applied for their business license and the business tax receipt, especially with the inventory, their inventories haven't been updated in years. And how a store can operate, in my opinion, with $1,000 of inventory, and that's it, I don't quite know. Now granted, it's only $3.51 per thousand, but I think I would conservatively estimate the city's missing out on at least $100,000 a year in revenue, if not more.
Just, the reason I ask is because one of the third-party vendors I ran into at the League of Cities conference was an organization that does exactly this. They go out and they're able to, through public record searches, identify folks who, you know, basically beat the system and aren't on our radar screen. I just didn't know if that would be any help to you.
It will be, if you could provide that.
I'll get that information to you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, we've got a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.